Galibaf's remarks also included a pointed message directed at the United States. He urged Washington to reconsider what he referred to as its Israel-first approach, suggesting that such a policy undermines broader peace efforts and contributes to instability. While he did not elaborate in detail, the comment reflects long-standing criticism from Iranian officials, who argue that U.S. support for Israel often comes at the expense of balanced diplomacy in the region. The call for U.S. compliance with a ceasefire agreement highlights ongoing tensions between Iran and the United States over their respective roles in Middle Eastern conflicts. Iran has consistently positioned itself as a supporter of resistance movements, while the U.S. has maintained alliances with Israel and other regional partners. These competing interests have often complicated efforts to establish lasting peace agreements. Lebanon, in particular, remains a critical focal point in these dynamics. The country has experienced repeated periods of conflict and political instability, with Hezbollah playing a significant role both militarily and politically. Any ceasefire involving Lebanon is therefore seen as a sensitive and complex matter, requiring careful negotiation and cooperation among multiple stakeholders. Galibaf's statement suggests that Iran views Hezbollah's influence in Lebanon as legitimate and central to any peace process. This perspective contrasts sharply with that of the United States and several of its allies, which designate Hezbollah as a terrorist organization. Such differing views continue to pose challenges for diplomatic engagement and conflict resolution. The broader concept of a ceasefire in the region is also tied to ongoing conflicts involving Gaza, Israel, and other areas where groups associated with the axis of resistance are active. By linking Lebanon to a wider ceasefire framework, Galibaf appears to be advocating for a more integrated approach too. However, not all analysts agree on how long Iran can sustain this situation. Another consultancy, Energy Aspects, offers a more conservative estimate. Based on satellite data from Kairos, they believe Iran may only have around 30 million barrels of usable storage capacity. Under this scenario, Iran could maintain its current export levels for just over 2 weeks before running out of storage space. This difference in estimates highlights the uncertainty surrounding Iran's actual storage capabilities. Analysts point out that while Iran's theoretical storage capacity may be higher, it is often not fully usable due to logistical, operational, or technical limitations. Historical data suggests that Iran's storage levels peaked at around 92 million barrels in May 2020, indicating a realistic upper limit under normal conditions. If the blockade continues into the coming months, particularly into May, experts warn that Iran will likely be forced to significantly reduce its oil production. Richard Bronze, co-founder of Energy Aspects, stated that while the immediate impact in April might be limited, prolonged restrictions would inevitably lead to substantial output cuts. This would not only affect Iran's economy but also tighten global oil supply further. To delay such production cuts, Iran may turn to alternative strategies such as using oil tankers as floating storage. By keeping crude oil stored in ships docked at ports or anchored offshore, Iran could temporarily manage excess supply. However, this solution is also limited and depends on the availability of tankers and safe shipping routes. Meanwhile, enforcement of the blockade appears to be intensifying. The U.S. military has reportedly turned back several vessels attempting to access Iranian ports. Among them was a Chinese-owned tanker named Rich Starry, which is under U.S. sanctions and was seen reversing course through the Strait of Hormuz. This narrow passage is one of the world's most critical oil transit routes, making any disruption there highly significant for global trade. Reports indicate that at least 8 oil tankers linked to Iran have been intercepted since the blockade began. In one instance, a U.S. naval destroyer stopped 2 tankers attempting to depart from Chabahar port. Such actions demonstrate the seriousness of the blockade and its potential to disrupt Iran's oil exports on a large scale. The broader implications of this situation are considerable. Reduced Iranian oil output could tighten global supply chains already strained by geopolitical tensions. Countries dependent on stable oil imports may face higher costs, while energy markets could experience increased volatility. At the same time, the situation underscores the strategic importance of maritime routes like the Strait of Hormuz and the vulnerability of global energy infrastructure to political conflicts. As the situation continues to evolve, much will depend on how long the blockade remains in place and how Iran responds. Whether through diplomatic efforts, alternative trade routes, or production adjustments, the coming weeks will be critical in determining the impact on both regional stability and global energy markets.